Welcome to the overview of the initiating process group. This is a foundation of any project where ideas are evaluated and a structured framework is established. Think of it as laying the groundwork for a successful project journey. In this session, we'll dive into the purpose, the key deliverables, and the essential tools and techniques used during this stage. Now let's understand what exactly is the initiating process as one of the five key process groups. So the initiating process group is where all it begins. This phase focuses on defining what the project will achieve and ensuring its alignment with the organizational objectives. It answers the key questions such as is the project worth pursuing? Does it align with the company's strategic goals? Also, think as these the decisions that are gonna be made. These decisions made here, to set the stage for planning and execution phases, helping to reduce the risks and ensuring the stakeholder alignment. Two critical outputs for initiating process group, which are considered as the project charter and the stakeholder register. We're gonna explain each of these project charter and stakeholder register as the key processes under the initiating process group. But here are the key deliverables that is involved in the initiating process group or the outputs of that stage or phase itself. So as we mentioned that the two critical outputs of the initiation or initiating process group are the project charter and the stakeholder register. So the project charter formally authorizes the project and gives the project manager the authority to allocate the resources. And meanwhile, the stakeholder register identifies everyone involved or affected by the project, ensuring their interests are considered throughout all of the project. For instance, a construction project charter might define the project scope, timeline, and key milestones, while the stakeholder register lists everyone from the client to regulatory bodies. Here are the key ITTOs or the input tools, techniques, and outputs. They are building blocks of PMP processes, as we've discussed earlier, and we have shown an example of what the ITTOs will look like into the key processes and the key process groups. To to recall what were the inputs are, so the inputs are what you start with, and the tools and techniques help processes these inputs, and the outputs are the results. So understanding the ITTOs help you navigate the PMBOK framework, and it's crucial for passing the PMP exam. So what exactly the purpose of ITTOs in initiating phase? The ITTOs and the initiating process group provide a structured approach to ensure the consistency. For example, using a brainstorming tool during the stakeholder identification helps identify all possible stakeholders comprehensively, ensuring that no critical party is overlooked. Now let's talk about the project charter and the creation process. So the project charter as one of the key deliverables of the initiating group, the project charter is developed by analyzing the business case and its objectives. And this process involves consulting experts or conducting visibility studies and hosting meetings with the stakeholder, for example, to refine the goals of the project. Once it's finalized, the charter or the project charter serves as the guiding document for the project initiation and planning. So the key inputs here, as we mentioned, that it's the business case and the tools that we can use is the expert judgment and the output are the approved project charter. Next, let's talk about stakeholder register as one of the key deliverables or the key outputs of the initiation or initiating process group. So the stakeholder register is developed by identifying everyone impacted by the project, whether negatively or positively. The tools like stakeholder analysis are used to map their level of influence and interest. This ensures that communication plans are tailored to their needs, improving collaboration and minimizing any conflict. An example here of having a stakeholder register, deployed or developed is, let's say, in a software project. The stakeholder register might include, let's say, the developers or clients or end users, which is categorized by their influence over these decisions, which is made on the project itself. So here are the key outputs from the initiating process group. As we mentioned that the key, let's say, outputs, which is the approved project charter and the stakeholder register. Now let's talk about the importance of initiating process group. So the initiating process group is critical because it defines what the success look like for the project. By aligning the goals early and clarifying stakeholder expectation, this phase minimizes risks and set a clear direction, ensuring a smoother journey through the other process groups, such as the planning, executing, monitoring, and control, and final closing. So here are as we say, the key process groups. So as you could see, that initiating is the first step in the project life cycle, as the PMBOK guide. So this flow chart represent the project life cycle with initiating as the first phase, and it feeds into the planning process group, setting the stage for detailed scheduling, budgeting, and resource allocation. So understanding this flow helps you to grasp how many or how the processes, they are related to each other. To summarize this session, so we say that the initiating process group is where the foundation for success is laid on. From the project charter to the stakeholder register, which are the key deliverables or the key outputs of the initiating process group. So every output is designed to ensure the alignment and clarity. In our next session, we'll have more, transition to the other detail of each of these key processing, such as how you, create the project chart and how you create the stakeholder register. We'll dive into the detail how to, detail these initial, say, concepts or initial processes into an actionable.